So the first results I want to look at is YCS Dortmund. So this is a breakdown of the top 64 for YCS Dortmund. And we see that Dracotail was by far the most represented deck. Is that the goo shining yummy? I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. What's good, boss? Um. So yeah, Dracotail was definitely it was the most represented deck by far, followed by Vanquish Soul, Maliss, and Radiant Typhoon, which makes a lot of sense. I would expect that all of these decks to be there. I think on my tier list that I did, the only deck that I had that kind of underperformed was Mitsurugi. Jib with the clean cut. Yeah, we had to shave it, bro. I think the only deck that kind of underperformed was Mitsurugi. I think the other decks that I expected to do well all did well. Um, yeah, Mitsurugi underperformed, and of course Lunalight underperformed. I think that Lunalight, again, like I said in the tier list video, Lunalight is a deck that at the beginning of the format everyone predicts to do really, really well, and then it just always flops because people are very prepared for it. So the YCS Bologna was won by Vanquish Soul by Diego. So if you guys don't know, Diego and Lorenzo are like those. They're on the same team, and their team is actually like insane. Like I think that so like obviously Lorenzo won the European Nationals. Diego just won the 300th YCS, and I think another one of their boys was the guy that won with the Odeon deck was another one of their boys. So this team has actually been going crazy, like super like big shout outs to them. Like they're doing their thing right now. They're kind of running Europe almost. Like I feel like they're running Europe. Like Lorenzo obviously has been like kind of the face of the team. Like he's been doing the best consistently throughout like since Snake Eye format. Like he's been doing very, very well. Same thing with Diego. He's been also doing very well. You have to give him his flowers. But like as of lately, they've just started winning a lot of events. I think people disrespecting Nib is crazy this past weekend. Yeah, Nib wasn't a deck that a lot of people expected to see much play. It's not very good against Dracotail or Radiant Typhoon when they go first. I would say that Nib is always a good card when you go first to back up a board. I think most decks play into Nib when they're trying to break a board. Going second, so I think that Nib is always just a good card to have in your hand when you go first. But like, when your opponent goes first, Radiant Typhoon doesn't really play into it. They're gonna put a Vortex fairly early, and even if they don't, like it doesn't matter if you nib them most of the time. Dracotail, another deck. They can't really play around Nib. Sometimes they just won't play into Nib because their hand is not good enough, in which those cases Nib is dead. And then even if they do play into Nib, they still have a lot of resources. Vanquish Soul doesn't really play into Nib deck, puts a Ripper really early. Yeah, so Nib, a little bit of a weird card right now. I think that it'll definitely see place in the side deck because more people are going to respect decks like Yummy, mainly because of what happened in North America and South America. Fiendsmith Yummy, shout out to Poncho. He ended up getting second with Fiendsmith Yummy. So Yummy did, I would say, fairly decent in the American regions. It didn't do very well in Europe. I think the highest placing Yummy was Julius in Europe, and he also played Fiendsmith Yummy. I believe he got like 10th or 11th. We can check. But yeah, he got top 16. Yeah, Julius with Fiendsmith Yummy. He was the highest placing Yummy in Europe. Yeah, playing Fiendsmith Yummy. I know a couple of players that ended up playing this deck this weekend. Again, another deck that I'm like kind of a little bit confused by. I think that this deck is just super shit into like Fualos, but again, people don't care. They're just gonna try to play like the highest ceiling deck and then try to play to their advantages, like what the deck is good at. The deck is good into not getting Fualos, right? Like when the deck doesn't get Fualos, like the deck pops off. So it is what it is. So one one Fua. Hmm. Fua's one card we always get Ash on. Yeah, Fua is Fua, bro. Like it's either you're getting Ash on Fua or you're not. Like it's one of those cards that like if it resolves you feel great. If it doesn't resolve, then at least against Dracotel, like it's actually the worst feeling ever. because it's like you instantly get destroyed if you get ashed on it. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Very well rested, ready to move on and reflect, get better for the next tournament. But yeah, so Julius ended up playing this deck. Again, more yummy. I'm not super sold on how good this deck is, but people are performing with it somewhat. A deck that I'm not surprised did very very well, but I'm surprised at how simple the deck lists were. Was Maliss. I think after the last ban list, we kind of I feel like a lot of people understood that Maliss wasn't dead. Like we know from the not OCG, we know from Master Duel that banning one of the links doesn't kill the deck, and I think in Master Duel, they banned the better link, in my opinion. I think Red Ransom is more important than White Binder for this deck, and the deck is still semi-playable. So they ended up banning White Binder and TCG, and the deck is still very, very good. I think what you have to do to this deck in order to kill this deck, if you really want to kill this deck, is you have to limit all of the names. I think all of the names have to be at one. Marcher doesn't have to be at one, but I think Dormouse, White Rabbit, and Chessy Cat have to all be at one. If the names are all at one, then there it just isn't enough Malice cards in order to play like a Malice deck, and you're forced to play more Ignister cards, more generic Cyberus cards. And we understand that those cards are just like very very bad going second and inconsistent, and then that will actually kill the Malice deck. And we've seen that a little bit in Master Duel. Like in Master Duel, all the names are at one, and the deck still sees some fringe play, but is nowhere near a tier 1 deck anymore. Just ban both Link 3s. I mean, you can ban Red Ransom and White Binder. That would be kind of funny. Like the deck is actually unplayable without either of them. You can do that. But like another way of going about it is that you could just limit all three of the summon names. I'm actually super super surprised Jib is streaming. He kept his promise. What promise did I make? I don't even remember, to be honest. But like, yeah. So a lot of Draco Tail. Let's look at the top placing Draco Tail list was Danilo. So Danilo played regular branded Draco Tail. Another thing that we should know about this weekend was how much Magistus Draco Tail underperformed. That deck was kind of like hyped up to be the hidden goo, but it low key completely flopped. Like I already knew going into the event that that deck was not the way to play the Draco Tail deck. I feel like that deck, like we tested the deck on stream. You guys saw how frustrating it was to draw cards like Zeroa and Crowley. Like those cards just feel terrible to draw. Like you're just playing more bad cards in your deck in order to make your deck crazy when you don't draw them. I think that this deck objectively is a much weaker deck because it's more reliant on drawing Ecclesia or Fallen in the White Dragon in order to really pop off. But I do think that when it does draw those cards, it is a better deck than the Magician's Draco Tail deck because it's just able to play a lot more non-engine and a grindier game. Um, yeah, so Danilo, shout out to him. Good job. You got second place. We all saw the finals, or I feel like a lot of us saw the finals. The finals was during the day 2 of the YCS, so maybe some people were preoccupied and didn't get to see the finals. It was a very quick finals. Danilo got clapped up, TBH, but like it was a bad matchup. Like it's Vanquisol versus Draco Tail. He didn't draw very well either games, so that also just made it like a lot more of a curb stomp. But yeah, it just wasn't very fun for Danilo. I'll say that. But I digress. Good job to Danilo in general. We're very proud of you, and he's definitely a player that we all know is going to eventually get over that hump and win an event one of these days. So that is the European event for all I'm concerned to talk about. The next event is the American event, so YCS Richmond. So YCS Richmond was a little bit more diverse in its top cut. Draco Tail and Maliss ended up being the most represented deck, followed by Yummy. There was a lot more Yummy in North America and South America than there was in Europe. Europe didn't really see a lot of Yummy and a lot more Draco Tail. But I kind of expected this anyways. I think that American players just love combo decks or one card combo decks. So decks like Yummy, I expected to see more play or more representation in general. I played against zero Yummy, and I played against zero Malice, and I played against zero Vanquish. So like, dude, like I don't know, the format is a little bit all over the place. Like if you look at the top cut, there's a lot of different decks here. Like if you look at the first top 8 decks, is like Yummy, Vanquisol, Memento, Dracotail, Malice, Dracotail, Malice, Lunalite, Despia, another Yummy. So it's like, yeah, it's a lot going on. There wasn't a lot of Radiant Typhoon in the top 64. More towards the bottom of the top 64, we had some Radiant Typhoons. The highest placing Radiant Typhoon was 10th place, I believe. Where is he at? I don't see him. That's weird. But yeah, there was a Radiant Typhoon player that placed 10th place. That might have been Europe. But here we have Jeremy Glassman was, it looks like the highest placing Radiant Typhoon player, playing the Extravagance build with Super Poly, a little bit weird. Not really able to play all the Poly targets, but playing 2 copies of Mud Dragon and 2 copies of Garura just so he won't banish both. But let's look at the winning deck, because I feel like this is honestly the most interesting deck. And Trev kind of said it in the server that I kind of was showing the goo in broad daylight. Because if you guys know, and a lot of you guys have been around here for a while, like I was playing this deck for a minute. Like I've been playing, not really with the rating cards, but I was playing Tri-Brigade Yummy for a minute. I kind of dropped the deck. I didn't think it was that good, and I still don't think the deck was that good. I think that Kamal and that group did some really interesting things with the deck. I think cutting Fractal to 1 is really cool. Like just playing 1 of each Tri-Brigades, like in order to access from your deck, is really cool. I thought that the extra copies of Fractal were really shitty. Like once you resolve Fractal once, like the other copies were dead cards. So putting it down to 1, as in like it's a card that you can hard draw, and if you hard draw is good, but realistically you're just gonna be searching it from your deck. Makes a lot of sense to me. So playing 1 of each Tri-Brigade, playing 2 Swen and 2 Eldum with a heavy Radiant Typhoon package of 3 Vision, 3 Chant, and 1 Ascendance with 2 MSTs and the Mandate. So playing everything except for a big in the main deck when it comes to the Radiant Typhoon engine is very interesting. I still have to play this deck for myself to see how it really works. I don't know. I don't see how this deck realistically is supposed to go second very well. I feel like this deck seems like it would struggle going second. I mean, according to Hani and Kamal, this deck breaks boards. I feel like your opponent has to be really, really terrible for this deck to break a board. Because, like, okay, so the issue is, right, the Radiant Typhoon cards, unless you're drawing hella Radiant Typhoon cards in your hand, Radiant Typhoon cards, they require your normal summon. Like, when you're playing pure Radiant Typhoon, you're usually using your normal summon. Like, there aren't many hands in Radiant Typhoon, especially in a deck with no Crocea, where you're not using your normal summon in order to start. I feel like almost every time I go second into Dracotail, I'm normal summoning an Eldem or a Swen going second. So to say, like, this deck doesn't really use its normal summon on the Radiant Typhoon monsters, and that they're like free extenders going second, I don't think that usually is going to happen. Yeah, we're going to look at Wilfredo's deck. He plays something a little different, honestly. I would say it's different. But I think that this deck probably struggles going second. And, like, it doesn't play a lot of non-engine. You're really only playing 12 non-engine, not counting, like, the Radiant Typhoon cards to get to MST. But that in itself is, like, all right. Because the back row in the Dracotail matchup is actually just the weakest part of the Dracotail board now. Unless you're playing majority against like Dracotail decks that don't get access to the white card, or maybe you have a Bell or an Ash every time that they have a white card or a Branded Fusion. But I don't know. Maybe I just need to test the deck itself. I think that the coolest thing, and I think the best thing that this deck has going for it, is the fact that people were not playing Nibiru this weekend. Nibiru was nowhere to be found this weekend. And I think that against Dracotail, or like against like a field where there's no Nibiru, and you can just play comfortably going first, like disrespecting Nibiru in order to maximize your end board, I think that Yummy is like the best deck, or like a crazy Yummy variant is the best deck to do something like that. And then when you get Fualos, because you're playing so many Radiant Typhoon cards, if you open up like a Eldum or a Swen, you can kind of just play the deck like a almost like a pure Radiant deck, where you're able to for 2 draws, you're able to put up Mandate, double MST, and then Snatchy plus a Link 1, which I don't think is amazing. What's good, Danilo? Also, congratulations on your finals. I don't think is amazing. Like, I think that like most Draco Tail decks are built to beat a Mandate, right? But I do think that is pretty good, and it's much better than what like Tri Brigade Yummy with no Radiant cards do, and what Pure Yummy does under a Fualos for an extra draw. So I think that that's a really cool trade-off also. The next interesting thing is the side deck. So opting to side deck 1 copy of Crocea, 1 copy of Phonix, and 1 copy of Vortex. I don't see why. I'm the first of the losers, still no rings. It's alright, bro. You're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. You're getting close. I don't see why these cards are in the side deck. It's like, when do you want these cards in the deck? Like, if these cards are good when you're going first, then why not main deck them? And if they're good going second, and if I don't know, these cards don't seem like they make sense. Did you go to the YCS? Yep, I just didn't do very well. I talked to Hani after the fact, and he said that he also agreed that these cards shouldn't have been in the deck. I don't know how Kamal feels about them. I don't see why these cards are here. Maybe Vortex just to make the board a little bit better, but post side. But I don't see, like, unless you already have Swen, I don't see when your Eldum is searching Vortex instead of searching a Swen in order to combo. I feel like these 3 cards just shouldn't be here. There could have been something better. I don't know exactly what is better at this moment. Probably like a 3rd copy of Nibiru and then maybe 2 copies of Droll for like K9 decks. But yeah, so I don't know why these cards are here, but the rest is fine. Extra deck, really cool. Totem Bird for the hands where you're able to play and you have access to Swen. I know it's also a part of the combo where if you like start with a Yummy, then you eventually get to Swen at the end. You're able to put a Totem Bird on your board, so you have Omni negations, which I think is really cool. Sprind also is really good because you can like turn hands where you get stopped on like your Yummy stuff, and then you're able to go into Sprint, and then Sprint is able to access Kit, which can bridge you back into the Radiant Typhoon and more of the Tri Brigade cards. Playing the Lightheart, shout out to the boy Lightheart. I had some of my boys looking for this card on Friday before the event that were playing this deck. Like, yo, where's Lightheart? We need copies of Lightheart. It's just another Link 1 tri-type monster. So it works. It allows you to link summon with it under the Tri Brigade lock. And it's just something that you can summon instead of burning your 1 Snatchy in order to try to get to a Link 2. Yeah. So I think that this card is also like pretty solid. This version opting to play Verum. I know that Hani's version did not play this card. Hani played a similar deck. He played way less Radiant Typhoon cards, way more hand traps. He didn't play Verum and Mandate also. Vanadium best deck. You sound like Triff right now, King Boogie. Come on, bro. All right, let's look at Freddy's deck, because Freddy also played a similar deck, but he did the other thing. So yeah, this deck looks insane. Like, not insane in a good way, but it looks like a pile. So he's leaning more into the Radiant cards. Like, he's even going as far as to play Magala. Like, he's playing Magala in his deck also. This is just a Radiant Typhoon deck with a Yummy engine. This is a Yummy and a Tri engine. But this is actually just like a Radiant Typhoon deck. Pretty similar. Siding 1 copy of Perfume Dancer to dump off of Mauser to try to out double Liger. Understandable. Yeah, this is just like a pile, bro. Like, people were getting away with insanity this event. I'm telling you, like, I don't know. NA is a very weird place. It's a very weird place for Yu-Gi-Oh! I think NA rewards players more for playing like very strong like engine go first decks, and then maybe you can like scam wins, you can like try to cheese wins going second, but like your deck has to be crazy going first. And even if it means like your deck like on paper is terrible because it's not like a good deck going second, or like you have hella bricks in your deck, it just doesn't matter. It's very, very weird. But I digress. There's still no results from LATAM here so far, which I also would want to look at, but they don't have results from LATAM, it seems. But yeah, guys, so those are the three or two of the three 300s. The third 300, we do know what the finals was. The finals was Yummy Fiendsmith versus Vanquisol. Vanquisol ended up taking it, unfortunately, defeating Poncho. So Poncho, again, like Daniil, getting very close, but not quite getting there yet.